Welcome back, Astro listeners, to Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is your host, Media Monk, and as usual, I'm joined by our autumnal shining star of the zodiac. It's Star Lady. Hi, Star Lady.
Hello, Media Monk.
And most of us remember Star Lady as Kim Marie, the Managing Director for the Evolutionary Astrology Network. EAN continues to certify new astrologers through our EA course. We also attract as many or more people just looking for that next level of soul growth by studying our materials. Kim Marie has studied the EA paradigm for 36 years now. Collectively, we do have hundreds and hundreds of those students all across the planet. Recently certifying several new people, and we are also accepting new students enrollments in our EA course. So consider calling 1-605-348-5111 for any more information on the EA course or the website. And always go to www.evolutionaryastrology.net for some instantaneous information on all of our materials. All right, this is a kind of a special fall edition. We're going to talk about the new moon in Virgo, but we're also going to throw in a little full moon stuff because we are going to take the month of September and present all the guidance we can with the current transits coming up. So I'll turn it over to you, Star Lady, and thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you, Media Monk. Hello, everyone. We're starting this podcast a little after the new moon in Virgo. Oh, perhaps like many of you, you can have your best intents with your schedule, and then somehow life wants to come along and change the schedule a little bit. And so that's what happened for us. We ended up having a beautiful weekend with family, but family didn't want to leave the cliff. So it's like, okay, one more day. So as we have went through our busy summer, and I've been I almost feel like I've been in and out of the astrological world. And it's not that I don't think astrology, I still do, but I haven't been as close to the calendar or the hit list of aspects as I usually do. And so sometimes when you walk away from a subject and you come back to it, it's kind of like fresh eyes. And so here I am looking at the new moon chart, new moon of Virgo at 14.5 degrees, which was September 6th, and the full moon of Pisces chart, which is going to be, I think, 28 degrees. I just lost my full moon chart. Okay, here we go. Anyway, what hit me was the fact that all of the outer planets, and I like to include Chiron, so the 6 outer planets are still all retrograde, and they're, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Pluto, through Uranus. And they've been opposed this summer by the inner planets. And this is the year that Mars is traveling with the inner planets, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and the moon when it catches up. So we've kind of got the inner planets on one side of the chart this summer, and we have the outer planets on the other side of the chart this summer. And so boom, 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 an inner planet opposes this outer planet, that outer planet. And so it's like we all are having our personal experience with all of these major outer planetary cycles that are going on. Just think for a moment, how is COVID and the coronavirus acting in your world these days? We had our motorcycle rally, and right on schedule, we are having an extreme super spreader event, and with the Delta variant, it is much stronger than it was a year ago. And so it's like deja vu all over again for us personally. Leroy and I experienced COVID last fall in September, October. So with this inner, outer interface, the oppositions, Many times the intent is to be able to step back and be more objective, to throw off what doesn't work anymore and reach a broader understanding, a better way to have some balance in your life and world. Now, Mercury has just went into Libra. Venus is finishing up Libra. And if you ever naively thought that Libra is going to be harmony and balance and everything's going to be so sweet and lovely and we're all going to get along, welcome to the extremes of Libra that we are literally in the midst of these days. Just a side note to Media Monk, I cannot find my full moon chart. Could I have yours, please? Would you deliver? We do our podcasts in different rooms, so we're not interfering with each other. And I just went through my little notes, and I'm not finding it. So rather than distract myself, thank you, Media Monk, for letting me use your full moon chart. Full moon, September 20th, I think it is. Anyway, back to what I was saying here with Venus finishing up in Libra, and now Mercury going into Libra. Mercury's in Libra August 30th through November 5th. August 30th through November 5th. It has a retrograde cycle in Libra, and Mercury goes retrograde September 26th, 27th through October 18th. Goes retrograde 26 to 10 Libra. Stay tuned. Later this month, we'll do our Pay It Forward free Mercury retrograde webinar, and of course, it gets posted on our podcast site. Back to Libra. It is really exposing some of the extremes that we have going on. I'm looking at things from the perspective of the United States. The extremes of opinions out here with vaccinate, do not vaccinate, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, have an abortion, cannot have an abortion, redistricting, gerrymandering by Democrats or Republicans. Take your subject. Now, mind you, this is all happening in the backdrop of transiting Pluto, balsamic, the U.S. Pluto, and we're going to have those 3 Pluto conjunctions in February, July, and December of next year. Yes, that is a backdrop in this country. And this country has, throughout its history has had cycles of inclusiveness, cycles of exclusiveness. The exclusive cycles bring out that polarity of me versus you and us versus them. They are just being exacerbated right now as we look at Mercury in Libra. By the way, September 7th is when Mercury in Libra enters its pre-shadow point, 10 degrees Libra. It's where it's going to go stationary direct next month. So that's kind of that broader picture of what all of us are experiencing right now. So I just want to take a moment and remind you of the evolutionary astrology mantras I created for all 12 archetypes many moons ago. The Virgo mantra, just coming off of this new moon in Virgo. I discern with intuitive wholeness. I discern, Virgo, with intuitive wholeness, balancing the Pisces polarity. You can use this mantra all the way up to Sun in Libra. You can relate to this mantra when we have the full moon just before the fall equinox. The full moon of Pisces is going to be September 20th at 28 degrees, Sun Virgo, moon Pisces. So you can see the energy in this mantra. I discern with intuitive wholeness. And with the Sun in Libra, it really is the stronger energy right now about being able to have some discernment in everything that's going on in our world, with all the polarities of the inner planets to outer planets taking place in our life. You know, one moment you think everything is all in harmony and balance, and the next moment it feels like everything just broke down, hell in a handbasket. Wait another moment, wait another day, oh, new understandings, new harmonies. Back and forth we go, and without the details, I've literally been living this personally, professionally, and going, oh, okay, just take a deep breath and find that space to be able to find your own center again, regardless of the details, Virgo, Mercury going on around you. Now, I just want to step into the Libra mantra next and give you the 1-2 with how we're going through this month of September moving into October here. My Libra mantra is, I balance a diversity of relationships with my own initiative. I balance a diversity of relationships, Libra, with my own initiative, the Aries polarity. So here we are, finishing up summer, getting ready to move into fall. We are having to work with discernment, and we are having to work with balancing in our own world and how we need to do that. Now the planet's already in Libra. Venus is skipping ahead into Scorpio September 10th through October 7th. As we already have the planets in Libra, and we're back and forth with these inner planets between Virgo, Libra. One more time. As anything erupts into chaos or lines in the sand in your world, how do you take a step back and just be able to say, what is the larger picture here? And how do I discern where I'm at and what is right for me with words and action? And then how do I go forward with that through all the ins and outs and ups and downs with all the communications that are taking place? Because it's already happening, everyone. We are already in the midst of all of the relationship overload with a Mercury retrograde cycle in Libra. So sometimes we have to take a step back and listen. Other times, it's there for us to speak up. We live in a more rural area compared to many places of the planet. We live in a conservative state. And while we live in the western South Dakota in the beautiful, beautiful Black Hills, which I love living here, we happen to live in the most conservative part of our conservative state. And we had a school board election this summer. Only 10% of the people showed up to vote. We had 4 extremely conservative board members elected. They are tearing down the entire school board policy. No masks, no social distancing, no contact tracing, no quarantine. It is a wild, wild west, and everyone on your own. And all of a sudden, the people who don't want to bother to vote in a local city school board election are going, whoa, wow. So I have this microcosm that we are living through of everything that's going on a national level in regards to the virus, in regards to many other things. And I have to take my own steps back because it's personal for me, with a sister who's a school teacher and a nurse a niece who is, young, elementary, 2 nieces, as a matter of fact, and so it's very personal. It's hard to do that Libra balance right now. And yet, this is what will be asked of us through this coming Mercury retrograde. Mercury is going to make 3 conjunctions to Mars through this retrograde cycle, 1 in Virgo, 1 in Libra while it's retrograde, and 1 in Scorpio. Mercury in Libra is going to make 3 last quarter squares to Pluto and Capricorn during this retrograde cycle. Last quarter squares, crises in consciousness or beliefs. Wait a minute, what happened here? Where was I? Why wasn't I paying attention? And so stay tuned. I'll kind of let you know how things turn out, but I'm flabbergasted. They're not only tearing down all of our COVID protocols, and now, mind you, we are, oh gosh, I'm going to lose track of facts. Let's just say our COVID in the school system is somewhere, it's double, almost triple of where we were a year ago with the school system when we were wearing masks and doing contact tracing and quarantine, etc. But our school board is tearing down every policy. It is tying the hands of what the school district superintendent can and cannot do. It is eliminating the student representation in the school board. It is throwing the policy handbook out the door. And I'm like, whoa, this is going to be interesting. So thank you for allowing me to digress and just give you a little viewpoint of this energy that we're in the midst of. And again, instead of dissecting this inner planet opposed that outer planet, I'm just trying to step back and allow you to see this is the energy we have been going through. You know, Sun in Cancer opposing Pluto Capricorn, Sun in Leo with Mercury and Venus and Mars opposing Saturn, Jupiter, and Aquarius, Sun in Virgo opposing Neptune and Pisces, now Sun in Libra opposing Chiron in Aries, and finally Sun in Scorpio opposing Uranus and Taurus. We're all having this push-pull in our world. May you be able to take that step back and discern for yourself and balance everything going on in your world in ways that are healthy for you. Let me just pause. Media Monk, sparking anything for you? I have more to say, but I just wanted to give us this broader overview of what this summer-fall is in the midst of.
You laid a good foundation for it. You know, inner planets opposing retrograde outer planets going through their own cycles of influence, more on subconscious levels. And so, yeah, it's easy to feel the push-pull inside, internally and externally. And that's really what I'm sensing and feeling and you're describing in this podcast. Yeah, and these outer planets are all retrograde. You are correct. That was one of the other things that I wanted to say. All 6 of these outer planets, including Chiron, are retrograde. They're throwing off old consensus patterning with the respective signs that each of them are in. And to just dip forward for a moment, we're in a space of 12 days in October. We're going to have Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury all turn stationary direct. So we're feeling this buildup of energy, and we'll see how it balances out, Virgo, Libra, in September, because we're going to get to October, and all this is going to be, all these planets are going to turn stationary direct in the midst of the Mercury retrograde, with Mercury itself last turning direct the same day as Jupiter, and it's going to be boom, boom, boom. Yeah, you know. It could feel that what I see in my mind's eye when you're saying that is that old teeter-totter on the playground when somebody who's on the low end, you know, hops off, and you could have this or pull the football out from underneath you when you're trying to kick a field goal. You know, it's not that intense with the outer planets. It's more subtle. But when you have 4 planets changing signs in any given month, you've got to understand that there's going to be some tension in the air.
Well, and when any of the more unconscious outer planets, we can include Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, is when they change direction, retrograde and direct, that they are kind of like, busting up through the surface of the water and making a splash. You notice them.
Right. That's a good analogy.
And as each of them turn direct, again, they're trying to evolve us. They're trying to move us forward. And so, one more time, for those of you who live in the United States, all this is happening in the backdrop of Pluto balsamic, its natal position, and what's dying off and dying off and dying off. And the consensus, it was never as good as it was yesterday, is freaking out, to put it mildly. So we're just grasping at this and that and this and that because there is a huge, huge diversification wave going on in this country. And it is bringing up everything from our past that we tried to push under the rug. And we're not going to be able to do that anymore. Lots on that whole subject. But just working with near future and this specific podcast, I hope you are able to get out into that evening sky and see Venus. It's been beautiful the last few nights. It's going to be at its highest, its greatest elongation, October 29th, which means it's furthest distance from the sun. But for us looking at it physically as an evening star, its greatest brightness or highest point in the sky will be December 7th. So and then it's going to drop pretty fast as it's getting ready to go retrograde December 19th. More on that later. But point is that Venus is just going to be beautiful. Our residence, we live on a cliff, literally. It's not like you fall a half a mile when you fall down, but, you can break a few bones if you fall off our cliff. And so it looks to the west, and so I always love those western sunsets, and I love it when it's warm enough for us to be outdoors in the evening watching Venus in the evening sky, which is what we've been in the midst of. But we can also see Saturn and Jupiter directly overhead when Venus is in the evening sky. Mars will join Venus, but it's not going to be for several months. It's not going to be till the first of the year before we see Mars in the evening sky. But Venus is leaving Libra, going into Scorpio. And as is the case with the inner planets, when they get ready to go retrograde, their transit through the sign starts to get slower and slower and slower. And so Venus is in Scorpio September 10th through October 7th, an entire month. And Venus in Libra, yes, has been those lines in the sand, push-pull that we've been experiencing. But now Venus, which is values, and it's coming out of its relationship sign that it rules, going into Scorpio. The distortions of Venus in Scorpio can get ugly. All of those wounded Scorpio words, obsessive-compulsive disorders. The Taurus polarity possessiveness, that's Scorpio as well. The whole stalking, the whole burst out of rage. With all these inner planets opposing outer planets, Venus and Scorpio could get a little ugly right now, and especially for the U.S. Pluto, balsamic Pluto. And, Venus will have a opposition to Uranus. It'll be a few days after the full moon. It'll be right on the fall equinox. Again, Venus in Scorpio is going to start addressing these, as I say it, power over, power under extremes. And how I like to say it is, healthy Scorpio is really reaches over to the Taurus polarity, and it self-empowers. It comes from self-reliance. Taurus, I can take care of myself. And so then the Scorpio energy empowers itself, and it doesn't allow anybody to have power over it, and it doesn't allow itself to try and manipulate or control others. So this is the intent of Venus in Scorpio. Now, if we personalize it into relationships, with Mercury retrograde in Libra, the relationships that have run their course may be reaching a natural Y in the road. Can both parties agree to it? Or does one party become the wounded victim? Does one party become, the revenge-seeking, what? We'll work our way through this. Again, the intent with Venus and Scorpio would be turning a karma mate into a soulmate, would be trying to reach from, I will love you if, to I deeply love you and I support you in your directions, even if they are away from me, as you discern it, Virgo here, to be highest and best for you. Venus and Scorpio can get us involved with resources. Who has them? Who doesn't? That is quite an active figure. My brain is just popping left and right with wanting to go into more detail on certain subjects and areas, and I'm just sitting here going, maybe that should be a fall webinar. Maybe that should be a fall webinar. Stay tuned as we move through the fall. We'll announce anything here. By the way, part of the reason for the iffiness of a full moon podcast is because I am traveling to Los Angeles to participate in a Conscious Life Expo. And this will take live in LA and London at the same time, but it will be a very strong virtual event as well. If you're interested, there will be myself and 2 other astrologers speaking on major subjects. My subject is the United States and its soul identity crises. So there would be a way to tune in if you are interested. Again, Conscious Life Expo, go Google it on the internet and you can get more information there. So Venus and Scorpio will start to lead the way, as it is, through these last months of 21, with resources coming into the equation, in addition to the health issues and the political issues and everything else that has been going on. I personally am someone whose opinion and perspective is that every woman, you know where I'm going here, every woman should have the right to decide what she does with her own body. And I come from the perspective of reincarnation. We don't get one lifetime to get it right. And coming off of 2, 4, 6,000 years of patriarchal distortions, men controlling women, whether we're looking at it from the perspective of what's taking place in Afghanistan, or we're looking at it from the perspective of the Texas abortion laws. Oh, you should see our conservative governor, Kristi Noem, if you don't know who that is Oh, boy, she's coming out left and right trying to outdo Texas here. Stay tuned for our legislature next year. Venus in Scorpio could if you thought the pussy hats were full of energy in January 2017, stay tuned here. Stay tuned. You're going to see women quite active in 2022. Jupiter will move on into Pisces, but Saturn's going to be in Aquarius all the way through 2022 yet, and distorted Aquarius might try to clamp down like Capricorn does in its woundedness, but it can also bring out the revolutions and the rebels, and we may see it majorly happen here on a gender issue in regards to equal rights and female autonomy with their own bodies. I looked up the chart of Texas, and I'm using December 29th, 1845, Austin, Texas, 1:42 p.m. It's from the book Horoscopes of the USA and Canada by Mark Penfield. And it's a book I've used for 20 years. And, you know, is everything right? No. It's the second edition where he made corrections in his own book. However, this Texas chart, it's 3 planets in Aries, Mars, Uranus, and Pluto. And Pluto's in Aries at 23 degrees, and it's retrograde. Moon is 20.5 Capricorn, squaring Pluto. Transiting Capricorn, or transiting Pluto, has been going over the Texas moon in Capricorn, and it's been having a last quarter square to itself. So here's the crises in consciousness for this state. Here's the grab to, you know, Texas has Sun and Mercury in Capricorn. And by the way, Mercury's retrograde in early Capricorn. Mercury, Cap, squares Mars, Aries. Sun, Cap, squares Uranus, Aries. And Moon, Capricorn, squares Pluto, Aries, in the Texas chart. So here's a country that's really trying to, again, take us back to yesterday in regards to so many issues. Stay tuned. We'll see how things evolve in this state because it's going to have a Saturn return here. And there are 3 planets in Aquarius. And so Saturn is going to touch upon those Aquarian planets next year in 2022 through the midterms. I'm watching these Libra pendulums swing and going, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. May we move forward with peace and equality for all concerned. Mars is going to move forward into Libra September 14th through October 30th. Mars is elongating to about 6 weeks in a sign now. So Mars is the last of the inner planets until, Mars becomes the last of the inner planets in early September or October. One more tidbit for you. We'll talk about this future podcast. Remember I said October, in 12 days, 4 planets go direct, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury. Right on the heels of Pluto's stationary direct, October 6th, we have Sun conjunct Mars. The Sun overtakes Mars. They have their not biannual, they have their once every 2-year conjunction. Mercury, retrograde, conjuncts the Sun And then Mercury retrograde has its second of 3 conjunctions to Mars. So we'll have Sun, Mercury retrograde, and Mars all in the skies when Pluto turns stationary direct early October. Stay tuned. And all this energy will take place in Libra, of course, with Mars in Libra. We can see more of these extremes of polarity. We can see some pendulum swings in one direction, another direction. I was born with Mars in Libra. This Mercury retrograde is going to go over it 3 times. I feel my own heat rise up sometimes and have to take a walk. Mars in Libra is in the opposite sign of what it rules. Remember, I balance the diversity of relationships with my own initiative. This is the quest of Mars in Libra. Sometimes Mars in Libra is kind of like the wallflower. Oh, I don't know. Do I do this or do I do that? Do I speak up or not? And sometimes Mars in Libra gets so, it feels such tension to itself that it explodes and it goes overboard in regards to all of its energy, and everything that it wants to hold in balance just goes to an entire extreme. Take deep breaths through Mars in Libra and, really work with what is the healthiest actions for all of us concerned. If I'm feeling angry, where am I not standing up for myself? Or where am I not standing up for what I perceive to be healthy and equal for all? If I am feeling like, what difference does it make? I don't count. Everybody else has more power or energy than me. Where do you have to stand up for yourself? How do you balance it? How do you continually, Mars, move forward with what is highest and best for your perception of everybody? And that is a lot of what we're going to be tasked with doing over this next month, over the course of this fall. All right, Media Monk, comments with what I'm saying. I'm not going into the details of the of the inner planet aspects, being conscious a little bit of time here. Comments, questions, sure. Anything sparking for you?
I think it's a great overview. You just described a lot. And of course, my Pluto is smack dab on my house cusp between the 7th and 8th, so all this Libra Scorpio information is resonating with me. I'm sure everybody else feels the same because we evolve and grow through the happy mirror of relationships. So, and sometimes it's not that happy. You almost got to get to the core of it. And I think that's we're all going to experience as we transition into the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
sure.
The full moon podcast will most likely be the Mercury retrograde webinar, as we tend to do 3 times a year with the Mercury retrograde cycles. The date I have chosen, I've got to balance my travel schedule with that, so stay tuned. If you are signed up for our newsletter, you'll get notice of when we have that Mercury retrograde podcast. And of course, you can always listen to it afterwards. We'll have it posted on our YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, YouTube channel. Also, not only on our YouTube channel, honey, but we'll put it on the podcast page of the website, and always the audio will be on iTunes. So, three different places to get our information. But it should be a good event. We'll just pay attention to Astro News List for the exact date and time for that webinar. Anything else we're going to do here before we close?
Well, one final thought. 9/11. I'm not going to talk about the event. That date, we have Jupiter retrograde in Aquarius make the second of 3 waxing semi-sextiles to Pluto in Capricorn. And so while transiting Pluto is balsamic to its natal position in the U.S. chart, transiting Jupiter is 30 degrees new phase to Pluto in the sky and to the U.S. Pluto. And Jupiter's retrograde in Aquarius, and so it is intuitively having all of us ponder, wait a minute, what is fair for all groups of people, Aquarius? What is the intuitive hits we're getting on how we want to see ourselves moving forward without, I'll give you one example. So in our local school board election, one of the school board members speaks up and talks about the freedom to choose about whether you vaccinate or don't vaccinate. This in regards to COVID. This same, and he's standing up for freedom to not vaccinate. This same school board member is also quoted in our local paper of not wanting any of the Afghan refugees to come here because they won't be vaccinated. So this is some of the hypocrisy that we're seeing with Jupiter retrograde in Aquarius. Jupiter is right brain intuition. Well, I'm intuiting this freedom this way, but then I'm intuiting, the opposite perspective on another issue. And you probably have examples in your own world where, excuse me, you want people to make sure that they have their polio or measles vaccine, but nope, can't have a COVID vaccine for children. Again, I'm not coming down on either side of the COVID vaccine issue. But here in the, for us locally, we have more people on ventilators in our local hospital than we did a year ago. And you see the statistics in the high 90s, those who have the Delta variant, 95, 97% unvaccinated. Those who are in the hospital, in our local area, 96% unvaccinated. Those on ventilators, 98% unvaccinated. Those kind of facts, Aquarius, logic, objectivity, kind of speak for themselves. And so Jupiter retrograde back in Aquarius here, which I'm on record of saying, while Saturn's in Aquarius, we're not going to get a handle on this virus mutation. And we've got all next year to go yet, Saturn in Aquarius 2022. Jupiter and Pluto in Aquarius are going to have their own parts of the equation as well, coming and going. But this Jupiter 30 degrees, waxing semi-sextile, new phase from Pluto the soul. The opportunity here is to step back, retrograde, and objectify Aquarius where facts are. But it also, in its distortions, has us Jupiter blindly clinging to our interpretation. of facts that may be limited in certain ways. So explore that little aspect for yourself if you want to, a little bit. All right. Maybe I'll speak to Jupiter, Pluto in the future, but for now, we'll let that be.
Well, thanks for tuning in, Astro listeners. Be looking for the notification on the Mercury retrograde in Libra webinar upcoming. And until later in the fall, we'll continue to move with joy and lots of passion on this extremely interesting journey to the core of our souls. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.